Hello, beautiful divine souls. Welcome back to Goddess of Rebirth, the podcast where we explore the wonders of our world and beyond. I'm Monica, and I'm thrilled to have you joining us for another enlightening episode. Today, we have a special guest who's here to take us on a journey deep into the heart of nature's intelligence. Hello, Kate. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Love that
I'm
intro.
so honored to have you here. Kate, you're a holistic practitioner, is that right? Tell us a little bit more about you.
Yeah, so I am a women's holistic hormone health practitioner. It's a mouthful, but I help women who are struggling with fatigue, bad periods, PMS, bloating, like just basically anything hormonal or that they feel is hormonal to naturally rebalance their hormones by adjusting their life and like understanding the root cause and coming into a place of healing. So that's what I do. And I love to do it. It's a passion of mine.
Wow, that's so cool. How did you get into this arena?
Mhm. Well, so I have 3 children. After I'd had the first, I got on the birth control pill and, just kind of did what most people do, right? Until I felt about ready to get pregnant again. And I came off the pill and I didn't get my period back for a long time, for like almost a whole year. And during that time, I didn't know what was going on. And I just kind of realized like, honestly don't know how my body works, like what the sequence of events that need to happen are in order to have a period. And I didn't know why it wasn't coming. And so I just felt at a loss. I went to a doctor and she just really didn't even pay attention to me or what was going on. She really just had an agenda to get me on, to do this expensive medical uh, intervention. And I just like didn't feel right about it. I was like, I already had a baby, like, and I had no problem getting pregnant. So, I just started looking other places and um stumbled into onto the right arena of the internet to find this holistic world and was able to solve my problem, rebalance my hormones, but it just ignited something in me. And on along the way, I read these books and I was just like, everyone should know this. Everyone should know that what you eat and how you move and how you feel and how you sleep, like all of these things play a role, and that our periods are just like this vital information for us in telling us something about our overall health. And that if we ignore them and hate them, like we're really missing out on this beautiful advantage we have of being female. Because we have this like continual feedback loop of like what our health is like every month, that men don't have that.
That's so beautiful. What? So we were talking about nature and
Mhm.
how we nature mirrors back what's happening inside our bodies and our cycles. What's something that you have learned from nature about the intelligence of our body to heal, to regenerate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what we finally got together on this podcast because I was talking in my stories. So the name of my company that I started is called Queen Bee Hormone Health, and my husband helped me like come up with that name, but it was just like an immediate yes, because for at least 10 years I've been like so enamored with bees. And the more I learn about bees, the more awe and wonder I have about the universe and about nature. And even as I was like also having this passion for women's hormones and I just feel like I feel connected to bees in a lot of ways. I kind of, and then bringing it back even more to like Mother Earth, right? Like she's a woman, like she's a cyclical being, living organism that is just like so intricate and so detailed. And our hormones are chemical messengers in our body that literally like every cell of your body, it has receptors for your sex hormones. And so when your hormone levels change throughout the month, your whole body is actually different on a cellular level. And so I like to think of bees as like this the hormones of Mother Earth. Like they connect across, they like create growth and they create the fruit. Like if we don't have the bees, we don't get the fruit, and the vegetables and the bounty. Um and unfortunately, due to pretty recent in the last 100 years developments of mankind, we've created so many chemicals, particularly that destroy Mother Earth. They damage the entire ecosystem and damage these metaphorical hormones of Mother Earth. And I'm referring to pesticides. So, there's lots of foreign contaminants happening both to Mother Earth and then, like, as a byproduct, as also to our bodies. So that's kind of the beginning of the beginning of the conversation. Is that bees and other pollinators are dying, and that's really bad news for us.
You were also mentioning that what was lost before pesticides, it's still lost. So there's actually no point in doing it. Tell me more about that.
Yeah. So a couple of years ago, I read this actually in a organic gardening book. And he said, like, prior to the invention of pesticides, the average farmer lost one third of their crop to pests. So then they invented these pesticides to kill the pests. But even still today, one third of crops are lost to pests. So it really, there's no point, exactly what you said. Uh, they're not working, but they continue to make them because there's people that benefit from the selling of something that's sprayed on basically all the crops. All of the large commercial crops are covered in pesticides and glyphosate, Roundup, for weeds, but it's not a significant help. It mostly just hurts. And that is one of the reasons, as people started investigating this large scale death of bees, that was the root of it, that we're weakening the bees' immune systems, and by the way that we're farming, and then they die, in large amounts. And if all the bees were to die, uh, the world would stop. We would run out of food in 4 years. They're so crucial. What set me off on my stories was like the announcement of like a robo bee, like like because we don't have enough bees that were like created to keep us alive, we're gonna create robo bees instead of just solving like the problem. And I think that's also
Yeah.
that relates to how women's health and health in general, but women's health is treated. It's like, oh, we'll just invent a new drug to like replace synthetically what your body like is designed to have. And so that set me off on my rage rant for a minute.
So that what you were sharing was there's a bee robot that is going to replace bees, but no one's talking about stop killing the bees.
Yeah.
They
Yep.
will regenerate, they will heal, and they will produce what they need to produce if we stop killing them.
Yep.
Um, And like, I thought that was really funny that you said that we're just finding a new way to not to fix the problem, but to make it bigger. With women, it's always like, oh, let's just remove the womb.
Right. Yeah.
You don't want to have cramps. You don't want to have period problems. Let's remove it. And you're like, wait, what?
Yeah. What's interesting is I watched this film. If you have access to Netflix, you can watch it, Kiss the Ground. Uh, there's probably other places you can watch it, but it talked about how the soil is the key to the Mother Earth's like detoxifying power. And when I talk about detoxifying, maybe that's a new concept for people. I just talked about pesticides. That's a common toxicant. It's a foreign chemical, a foreign thing that enters our body or enters the earth that is acts kind of like poison, or it's not natural to the environment, so it disrupts the natural flow. Okay, so in our modern day, like there's so many toxicants all around us. Our fragrances that are in just about everything, cleaning products. It's in our water. It's in pesticides, so it's in the food that we eat. It's in the air. If you live near mining, like there's a lot, right? And we can be afraid of that. We can feel overwhelmed by that. But the amazing thing about both our body and Mother Earth is that we have the power to naturally eliminate toxicants from our body. We have amazing detoxifying systems in our body. So I'll talk about the earth first, and that is the soil. That is what I learned recently. That modern farming, we till up the ground, and by doing so, we break up the soil that's sequestering, that's holding carbon. There's a lot of carbon in the air. That's what is the cause of global warming. And the soil, when it's healthy and when it has the opportunity and when it grows plants, those amazing plants, whether it's trees, crops, doesn't really matter what it is, it takes carbon from the atmosphere and pulls it down into the soil and cools the earth naturally. When we farm in the way that we do now, where we till all the soil, so there's all these bare, huge spots of bare land all over the world for many months, we're missing out on the green that pulls the carbon out of the air. And what was so amazing watching in this, they showed this, I don't know what the imaging is, but they showed like thermal imaging from NASA of the earth. And you watched it over the year. And like in May and June and July, when crops were like flourishing, you saw the earth cool down. And then when they harvested it, you saw it heat back up. And so the solution, the regenerative way to farm, is you can actually still farm all these crops without tilling the earth. You just cut it off, cut it low to the ground while leaving the roots intact so that those roots can continue to draw carbon down into the earth. And there's so much more about it too. But just by doing that, we could, according to these scientists, we could reverse global warming.
Is this only a job for the farmers? Like, oh, they should be the ones worrying about that. What's our role?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good question. Before I answered that, what was really one of the interesting things, and I tried to look this up before we got on, but there was a case study in China. I don't actually know where in China, but there was this huge land mass that had basically been turned into like a Sahara desert. Like it was just sand. It was just for miles and miles. Everywhere you looked, it was just dead. And this was like in the 1960s. The scientists there were learning about this, and they were like, how do we bring this back to life? And I don't know all the details of how they did it. It wasn't a very long part of the documentary, but they showed that place that looked completely desolate, like nothing, you couldn't possibly grow anything there. And in 30 years, it was like this beautiful green, it was like Garden of Eden, like, and it just gave me chills. It was just amazing to see what you could do in 30 years. Um, and that they really did do in this huge, large space. So yeah, we're not farmers. Most of us probably listening to this are not farmers. A lot of what they did in the movie, they were like traveling to educate farmers because this is just how they've been taught to farm. They don't really know why it's working this way. Why, like their crops are getting harder and harder to grow because the soil is weaker and weaker. But there is a way to reverse this. The other thing is governments. Governments, we can get involved in politics that just basic putting funding into educating farmers how to farm differently and stopping our in America, in the United States anyway, we what's the word, subsidize these types of big farms. So it's really hard to make money as a farmer this way, but farming in a more regenerative way is better for the earth and better for the farmer. So I'm not expert on this. Like, I'm going off of based on what I've learned recently, but I can say like getting involved in politics, whether it's like pushing back against glyphosate used in your school area, like where your kids go to school or the parks or the community that you're in, and also shopping, looking up regenerative farming. It's not just about how you cut the grass. It's also about like how the animals live, what the animals are eating, and how they contribute to an system. But as we like separate livestock from plants, which were always meant to be together, and they have a synchronistic relationship, we separate those and we cause harm. So we need to bring those back together. I don't know all the hows, but it is amazing to see that it's possible for the earth, and that it would benefit everyone. It would benefit our health also as a ripple effect.
I also feel like we have separated ourselves from everything. We kind of feel like we're that entity that is not connected to any of the intelligence of the planet. And I saw this post the other day that I thought was really interesting. They were speaking about um how important it is to reclaim right now the ancient wisdom of and return to the ways of nature. And they said we have to turn inward and discover the technology within ourselves. So, which I thought was also really, really interesting that you were mentioning how we're trying to fix everything about ourselves. We don't want to smell funny. We don't want to have hair in places. We don't want to have whatever you put it. And we put all of these things into our body in order to fix it. There's nothing to fix to begin with, but we never listen to the intelligence of our body. And okay, and now speaking about illnesses, why am I experiencing pain? Why do I have painful periods? Why? Instead of listening to the intelligence of my body, I go to a doctor who tells me, well, let's remove your womb. Let's do this. Let's whatever, the pill. And that's not really in alignment to the intelligence of my body. And if it's not in alignment with me, then it's not in alignment with the planet. It's not going to help. It's going to destroy whatever I'm destroying in my body. I'm destroying in the planet as well. And yeah, so it's the new technology, like they were saying in the post, is not AI. It's not like we're gonna have a like the renewal and the regeneration of the planet won't come from a robot, but it will come from the intelligence and the wisdom of Mother Earth and the intelligence of ourselves as we tune in.
Yeah, and we are Mother Earth. Like, we come from the earth. And so, yeah, to if we tune back into our instinctual wisdom as the co-inhabitants of this earth with all the other plants and animals and organisms, like, then we will relearn how to survive and to thrive as she once did. And this is another like parallel that I thought of a little while ago. A couple years ago, I went down to Louisiana. They had a really rough hurricane, and went down to help like clean up debris from people's houses and stuff. And there was this huge tree just like on its side, and I was thinking about two things. So, well, one I'll say is that I always say that your period is a report card. It's like not grading you, but showing you like how you kind of did, how your health is. So if when you come to that cycle, and that part of your cycle where you're having your period or PMS, whatever part of your cycle, and you're having huge bad PMS, really heavy bleeding, really a lot of pain, that is a message to you to say like something's out of balance, right? And I also like liken the phases of your cycle to phases like seasons of the earth. And that's like a whole other conversation, right? But then was thinking about these like seasons. Like, so I live in Texas, and the last few years there's been like a time in February where we had like total freeze. Like, it got a couple years ago, it got like -25 and our power was out, and we were like, Texas is just not prepared for that, at all. And it's like these seasons are like way out of whack, and the summers are getting hotter and hotter. And so that's like the seasons are like Mother Earth's period, right? Like, her cycle is off. It's not running smoothly, and it's extreme. And it's moving more and more extreme. And so, yeah, again, it's like, okay, let's listen up. Let's listen to what nature is telling us. Like, something's off, and we need to change it, and we can change it. That's the hopeful message that I want to make sure and say. Like, we do have power. It does take more work to live there's so much convenience around us, and like all of the processed foods on the shelf. And so, yeah, eating real food is like, it has to be an intention, and it has to be something that we strive to do. And seeking out food that is regenerative is the next step up.
I spoke about these before, and it's a very intuitive thought that I had. I'm not really sure if it's actually something that could be or not, but um, I do feel like Mother Nature is trying to balance what we're doing with the planet, and it's not only about the destruction and like what's happening in the farms and with food related, but also what's happening in the collective of our consciousness, like what we're doing to each other, the way that we feel about each other, the division that we have created with countries, and how we are massively killing children, and all of these that is happening collectively in our planet is also impacting the earth, and everything that we're seeing, yeah, kind of like happening in nature is trying to help us either wake up and see and get back to the real essence of being a human, and also trying to kind of like cleanse and rebalance what's happening with her territories, and her cycles and her well-being. Because at the end, Mother Nature is not only here to serve us, it's here to protect every single plant and animal and anything that is alive. and that we cannot even see, that we don't even know. And so that task is huge, and we don't see it, and we don't feel responsible. We're like, no, whatever, I don't really care. But we are more than responsible about that. What do you think about that?
That's beautiful. I totally agree that there's something energetic happening as well. And I feel like that also ties in just like holistic health of like, it's not just about what you eat and how much you sleep and stuff. It's also like how your emotions, like, try to give brief example here, but like when you are stressed, when you are always having that feeling like you're rushing around to be productive and be busy, but you feel frazzled and you feel guilty that you're not doing enough, like that raising of your cortisol like throws off your physical hormones. So like yes, it's because of what you're thinking. You're thinking, I need to earn love somehow. I need to avoid rejection. I need to do something to maintain the safety of people accepting me and loving me and me accepting me. The kind of things that you're thinking. Another example is that like when you have like a trauma in your life or just something that is so painful, um you can you can often, like, if you're not prepared to deal with it or you don't want to deal with it, you can sort of create a shell mentally, emotionally around those things so that you're just like, I can't deal with that. Right. And something so interesting is that your body responds by like, um, by creating a calcium shell around your cells to protect you. So like calcium is supposed to be in your bones, but it comes into the soft tissue and it like protects every cell. And it actually means that like your hormones can't communicate properly and like it disrupts everything, right? And so then when you start to break that down, when you balance your minerals, you start to feel things emotionally that you had shut yourself off to. So there's such a connection, and I don't doubt that there is a connection in the energy of just all of Earth, all of the collective, both of humans and nature.
Yeah, for sure. I watched the this movie Dune. Did you watch that one? I
I
love
haven't seen it.
the part that I really love, and it was when the main character said, "If you don't know how to read the desert," that's I'm putting it in my own words. If you don't know how to read the desert, you won't be able to survive. So we have to become one. And I do feel like that was so powerful, not only because I wish that we all could become one with nature, but at least I know that there's a lot of people out there that are like, no. I at least I wish that we could become one with ourselves. And something practical that I think that I have seen in my life that I can do to help in general the planet is to get to know myself better, the self awareness of why, and you mentioned it before, what am I eating? How's my body doing? I don't need to fix myself with, yeah, external chemicals and stuff that change my hormones, that disrupt my system, but I have to learn what is good for me, what is my body recognizing as that, trust my intelligence, the intelligence of my cellular level, and build upon that. And yeah, I know that food is a big topic, but even cosmetic products, and things that I put on my hair, and things that I do with the water that I drink, even how I speak to the water that I drink, like stuff like that, like just how do I get to hear the intelligence of my body so that I can become one with myself.
That's really beautiful. Yeah. I love that. I think that, um, I keep saying like we are nature. Like just back to what you said before, like we really, I think at least in the Western world, like I think most people are like, I like to be in nature sometimes, or whatever. And it's like, you are nature. Like, and the more the more you, whether it's by watching Discovery Channel, like by watching nature shows and learning the amazing and interesting inner world of so many animals and plants and insects around us, then like you start to see yourself reflected back and you start to realize like, oh, I was always meant to, like, it's so recent in the history of the world that we have like separated ourselves so much and created tension there. But like coming into oneness with ourselves. Yeah, like just seeing um how the lifestyle things that we choose, the food that we eat and the products that we use, but also how we can have a heart at peace uh, with others around us and seeing ourselves in others. And I think if anyone has kids, I think about this all the time. I have 3 kids and I'm obsessed with them. Like I love them. I want the best for them. And it's like, I don't know, people believe different things, but I'm like, I adore this child simply because like they were born through me, but they're no different than neighbors. Like if my neighbor's child was born to me, like I would adore them just as much. And so that like opens my heart and expands me to seeing everyone in this light of like everybody is just as worthy of adoration and protection and love as my own children, even if they annoy me and like I disagree with them. But I mean that's a real exercise of um humility and faith to try to have that perspective. So I'm not saying that I really have it all the time, but I think about it sometimes and try to live that way.
Motherhood is another whole way of understanding nature
Yeah.
at a deeper level. Is there anything else, Kate, that you wanted to add into the conversation?
So I talked about how the earth like can detoxify and we're the ones kind of getting in the way of that. Same with our bodies. Okay, so we spent plenty of time talking about all these products and all these things to be scared of. And some people feel like, oh, my hormones are off or something's not right. Maybe I just need to like fast for 36 hours and like drink nothing but lemon juice. And, there's all these cleanses that seem very popular right now. And I just, want to give a public service announcement that like your body is not dirty. And it doesn't just need to be like washed, like run through the washing machine or the dishwasher or whatever. And that if there's any benefits that come from those cleanses, they're basically like they're done once you go back to living the way you usually do. But what's amazing is that we do have incredible systems in our body that are built to push out anything that's not supposed to be there and regenerate um, all the good things. And so number one that I'll bring up is our skin. Our skin is always working to detoxify. That's one of the reasons that we sweat. When we sweat, it just pulls out toxins and we wash it off, right? Our breath too. So doing deep breathing is not just good for your stress hormones and how you feel, but it also you breathe out some of the toxicants that or toxins that are in you. But the another one that we don't talk about enough and talk about how it is connected to our hormones and everything is our gut. And so, yeah, naturally, everything that comes into your body, you have a system that sorts those things out. Important stuff goes into the bloodstream and supports you and builds your muscle and everything, and the waste leaves the body. So that's one reason that you want to make sure that your digestion is good, and another reason to like avoid pesticides and processed foods, because it damages that system that is naturally cleaning you from the inside out and regenerating. And when you avoid inflammatory foods that are damaging your gut can generate and repopulate all of the healthy microbiome there within 7 to 10 days. That may not be like the end of your healing journey is 7 to 10 days, but it's amazing how quickly something that could be like completely ravished and completely destroyed can repopulate when it's given the right ingredients in the right way. And to go on, here's some free ways to make sure that your detoxification system is working well. You're not feeling bloated, which a lot of women complain about. In free ways, number one, when you're eating, sit up straight, have some good posture. Put your phone down. Don't look at your phone or the TV or whatever while you're eating. Look at your food and be mindful, live in the moment, because digestion starts in your mouth. So you're going to feel saliva. You're going to feel yourself start to salivate. That's starting to break down your food even before you eat it. When you eat, chew your food thoroughly until it is like the consistency of applesauce. Because most of us, and I'm really, it takes a lot of effort to unlearn this. We chew a few times and swallow it down, and we send food down to be processed. That like it's so much work for our gut. It's really taxing to our gut to try to process food that's not fully chewed. And try to eat in a low stress environment. And if you need supplemental support, you can take digestive enzymes, but you can't out supplement a bad diet and a bad habit of eating. And just doing those things, like I just challenge you and invite you to try those things and see how you feel. Like see if you're still feeling those symptoms of bloating and feeling exhausted and sluggish and all of these things that so many of us are feeling. It's because we need to really take care of our gut, just like we need to take care of the earth and soil.
And I also feel like we have to add reverence into this whole practice of mindful eating and I know people. I am one of the busiest person in the world. I know that like what are you saying? I know it's challenging to our beliefs, but it's completely possible to eat quietly, mindfully, reverently for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
It is still
Sit
possible.
down. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No matter how busy you feel, creating boundaries around like your basic human needs is just kind of the first step to really taking care of yourself and coming back into that oneness with nature and coming home to yourself and not letting this feeling of busyness and or like needing to be distracted or needing to be consuming information, just really holding up a boundary around eating and time outside, grounding, take off your shoes and stand outside and connect to the earth in that way. Go outside in the morning and get that morning sunshine. If you can, like garden, like things that are hobbies. We call them hobbies now, but it's like we were always meant to be like growing our food and like being more connected to where our food comes from, and let it help you slow down. And really take into account, like, why do I feel like rushing around and like that everything's chaotic and I'm so busy? Like, is that really true? Or am I just really desperate to avoid rejection from like a childhood memory, like anyway, that's pretty deep, but but put up boundaries and start to live those things and come home to yourself. That's what I would
Yeah.
say.
Yeah, totally. I I love that you brought this topic of eating and food and putting your phone away. If there's any practical advice that I would like to leave for the audience is eat without your phone
Mhm.
around. And I know that I'm a little bit more spiritual and like, oh, I talk to the plants and like and the flowers and the trees and
Yeah.
that's like my world. But I do feel like when I have this desire to empower women. Like it's burning in my heart
Mhm.
all the time. I'm like every conversation that I have with a woman, I want her to feel empowered. And when I eat, sometimes I get those kind of conversations with not that I'm having conversations with my food, but with myself as I become mindful of what I'm eating. I get the empowerment that I need just by connecting with my food because I get into the process of thinking, how did this get on my plate? What does it take for a crop or um I'm not eating meat right now, but I will say, an animal to grow to what it is and to bring their everything into our plates so that we can live our dreams, so that we can be one more day here on this planet. And when you get to listen and you get to connect to the essence of those things that are feeding you, that are keeping you alive, then there's something inside of you that wakes up again and says like, well, you know what, if I'm going through a really hard time but I was able to eat these, and you feel that empowerment, you feel that support from mother nature, from the planet, like you're here for a reason. Keep going. It's going to be all right. If there's something on your plate, it means that there is a whole world, rooting for you.
I remembered I remember hearing this on a podcast like years ago, and then I just remembered it the other day. I was looking at my glass of water before I drank it and was like, "I love you. You're beautiful. You're so amazing." Like just speaking into my water before I drank it. It was almost instinctual too. It was like, yeah, it makes sense to just be grateful for this thing that is outside of me, but it's part of me and it's going to be inside of me and then it's going to go back out and it's like going to be inside other people like um yeah, water is amazing and
It is.
what you said.
It's a mirror as well, and it's a connector. And so, yeah, everything we are telling ourselves, we're telling everybody else, and all the beliefs. Anyways, I'm so happy that you were able to share your wisdom, your experience. There's a lot of connection between the work you're doing with helping women with their hormones and healing the planet. Like there is so much connection.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for that. Like you're doing that. I'm grateful that you're bringing women back into awareness and back into their home
Mhm.
and their body intelligence. And I do invite all the people that will be listening to this podcast to also get back to their body and the intelligence of their body. And if you want to learn more and you want to have a guide, then you can get in contact with Kate. Kate, where can people find you in case they want to know more about their body?
Thank you. So my main social media is at Queen Bee Hormone Health. And you can also email me at kate@queenbeehormonehealth.com, or you can check out that same website handle. But mostly I'm going to be on Instagram. I would love to hear from you, any questions you have, and any way that I can help. And Monica, thank you so much for inviting me onto your show. And like, I just really loved this conversation and catching up with you and hearing what you're up to right now. It's really awesome. So, and I'm really happy. Actually, I watched that film on Earth Day, and that was like a week and a half ago. And like the next day, I was just like, oh, I just like really want to share this information with the world and just like want to talk about it, but I don't really know how to. And like I just manifested this, like I was brought it up on my stories, but you were like, let's talk about it. So like whatever you are putting out into the universe of like, I want to help, I want to like influence other how people are thinking about the earth and not just constantly feel climate anxiety. If you do, I can relate to that. But anyway, I'm grateful that we could have this conversation and again tie it back to us, our bodies, and like the connection of how when you start taking care of yourself, it's just like naturally flow. You'd be interested in like how else can we influence our environment to be healthier and thrive.
Yeah, totally. Beautiful, beautiful. You're so powerful, manifesting for Mother Earth and the people on the planet. That's beautiful. So beautiful. I want to thank you, Kate, for sharing your insights, your wisdom, your work, your passion for connecting humanity with the intelligence of Mother Earth. Thank you for your time for this episode. And as we go forward, I wish our audience may carry this sense of wonder and curiosity and appreciation for the world, for the planet, for their surroundings, for the land, for their heritage, their ancestry, and that we might continue to learn and observe and listen to the wisdom and the intelligence that is not only a spiritual or a non-visible or a woo-woo thing, but it's a very tangible, real intelligence that is all around us. And that we can embrace the power of regeneration and healing that is all around us, that is inside ourselves. And I do believe in humanity. I believe that we can do that we can be better stewards of what we have been given, and that begins with ourselves, with our body, what we put in to our bodies, what we feed our bodies with, and then it goes out to the planet. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Until next time. I am thrilled to have you in my circle, and I am buzzing with excitement to conjure up some magic together. Remember, in Goddess Unleashed, we don't just talk the talk, we walk the mystical walk. Tune in and transform with me. Until next time, keep your spirits high and your magic untamed.